everybody, today it is the last day of January, so I'm doing my January wrap up. I read 9 books this month, which I say is great. Absolutely amazing. Here are all the reviews for the 9 books, my thoughts, opinions, star ratings. Here it all is for all the books I read in January. So the first book I read was A Study in Charlotte. I did recently haul this. I got it from a secondhand bookshop, but I gave this a 2.5 stars. This follows Charlotte, who is like a great-great-grandchild of Sherlock Holmes, and Jamie, who is the great-great-grandchild of Dr. Watson. So Jamie moves to this boarding school and he finds out that Charlotte goes there, so he wants to be her friend. And then they end up being friends and they solve mysteries because someone has set them up for murder. I just opened the book and for some reason my dad's birthday card's in there. It's already been his birthday. I don't know why it was in my book. I didn't use it as a bookmark, so why is it here? I don't know. Anyway, the book was okay. It is a very middle of the road mystery. Not my favorite, not my least favorite either. I did enjoy it, that's why it was a 2.5. I said in my reading stats video that I want to be more critical with my ratings this year and I only want to give high ratings to books that I absolutely love. And this was just okay, so that's why I gave it middle of the road, but I still enjoyed it. It wasn't bad. I did, however, think that the writing was a little childish, but it doesn't really line up with the content because there was a lot of drug usage as well, so it's not for like a really young audience. I would say like 13 and up, I don't know, but it was like written quite childish, but not bad. Like, it was just not what I expected. Also, I did think it would be from Charlotte's point of view, but it wasn't, which is fine. But I was just, I don't know, expecting different things. And the mystery was predictable and I didn't have that feeling when I usually read mystery books about like waiting to see what happens and having to read more because like I can't wait to find out what happens. This I was like, oh yeah, if I stopped reading it right now I probably wouldn't care, but it was still enjoyable. If I had read it when I was younger I probably would have loved it, but I do like a boarding school, so that bumped it up because boarding schools are fun, right? Next, I read Blindside on Kindle. It was really good. I gave it a 3 stars. This is a sports romance and I don't usually read sports romance. I think this is actually the first one I read and it was between an American football player, this is in college by the way, and the girl, she is like a media manager, so she like sets up all the sports interviews or whatever. I don't know a lot about American football. It was interesting to learn about. I mean, not like they're teaching you how to play football, but there were things that I was like, oh, wouldn't know. But I enjoyed it. It was really good. And also the thing that definitely brought me into it was that it was fake dating. And as you know, I love a fake dating, so I was here for it. It turned out very well. I liked it. There's a plane going over. Sounds like it's gonna go down. Hope not. Oh, hope not. Hope not. The classic 3rd act breakup happened and that really annoyed me because the miscommunication, if they had just talked it through, everything would have been fine. So that was the only thing that made me go like, nah. But I enjoyed it. If you haven't read it, read it. Although, this is the 2nd book in a companion series, so the first one follows 2 other people in the football team and they have their own book, and then there's another one at the end as well, so it's a trilogy at the moment, but you can read them out of order because it doesn't really matter. But it was good. Next, I read It Ends With Us, and I gave this a 2.5 stars. It was just okay for what it was. I do have a video up already though of my reading vlog for this where I tabbed it and I did give all of my thoughts. If you do want to see what I thought about this book in depth, please go watch that video. I do have the chapters on, so you can go and like find the bit that is my final thoughts if you don't want to watch the whole thing. But we all know the book, so yeah, if you want to see my thoughts, go watch that video. Is that another plane? Where is everyone going? Next, I listened to an audiobook of Unnecessary Drama. It was amazing. This is my first 5 stars of the year. It was so good. This is by Nina Kenwood. Also, I haven't said any of the authors of the previous books. Don't know why. Anyway, this was great. This was set in Melbourne. It was great. I loved it. And listening to this book, it was crazy. Like the similarities. And I know like I've heard people before say, oh, this character is so mean. I'm like, yeah, right. Like, people always just want to insert themselves into books, and I mean, I'm guilty of it too. That's why I love to read first person, because I want to be the main character. However, this book, I was like, is this person me? Is this person actually me? Because it was crazy. So I will list all the similarities, because when I was reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, this author somehow went inside my mind and was like, yes, let's make a character based on this person. It was weird. Anyway, so she's a big reader. She loves trivia. I love trivia. And she was a goalkeeper in netball because she was tall for her age, and she was like out of the way. And I was like, that was so me, because I'm not very good at sports. So when I was goalkeeper, I was just stuck down the end because I didn't deal with anything really. I was like, oh. Also, another big thing that here I am, oh, I wasn't reading, I was listening actually, so I went, and she was talking about watching her favourite show that she always rewatches. So she went and watched the TV show, and I was like, what are the chances that it is my favourite TV show, the one that I'm rewatching right now? She turned it on, Vampire Diaries. I was like, no way, because I'm actually on my 4th rewatch at the moment. I'm like near the end of season 5, but I was like, this is crazy. I was shocked and surprised. Anyway, I hate to be that person that says that this book is about me, but I was like, whoa. Anyway, it was really good. I loved the writing. I loved the romance. It was so cute. So if you haven't read it, read it, maybe listen to it, because I really enjoyed the audiobook. I liked the narrator, and because I liked the narrator, I actually listened to another Nina Kenwood book, which is It Sounded Better in My Head, and this was also narrated by the same person as the other one, and it was great. Once again, I love the way that she writes characters. I feel like they're done very well and they feel really real. And I gave this one a 3.5 stars, so I quite enjoyed it. And the other one, oh, I didn't say what the other one was really about, but okay, so back to Unnecessary Drama. That one was about, I can't remember her name, and I didn't write it down anywhere, so I don't remember her name, which is strange because it was my favourite book of the month. But she's in her first year of uni and she's moved into a share house, and one of her roommates ends up being one of the guys that she went to school with. There was some drama there, and stuff happens. Now we're up to It Sounded Better in My Head. This one is about a group of friends that are in their last year of high school. So they're finishing their last year and they're going into university, and it was so good. They went on holidays like towards the end of the book, and it reminded me of like The Summer I Turned Pretty, but if The Summer I Turned Pretty was actually good, this is what it would be. I quite liked it. So if you are interested in like contemporary books, read these two because they were really good. Next, I read Criers War. I read this on my Kindle because it was on Prime Reading, and that's what I have. So I saw it and I was like, yes, let me read it, because I've wanted to read this book for so long. It is about a girl named Crier who is a robot. Ooh, 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 ooh. They're called Automa in the book. So they're like robot humans, and they have kind of taken over the world. Then there is the other girl, Ayla, who is a human, and she is like a servant. I guess this would be classified as a sci-fi, which I don't often read a lot of sci-fi, but this is also kind of fantasy-ish, I guess, as well. But I would classify it more as sci-fi because it's robots, but I quite liked it. There was like royalty. She's a royal robot, Crier, so like, have fun. But it was very good, and it's also an enemies to lovers, so you know, do with that what you will. And yes, so I gave Criers War a 3.75, and then I read Ironheart, which is the second book. This is a duology, I believe. I don't think there's any more. And I gave it a 4.25. I really enjoyed it. It was really good, and I liked the ending. Happy endings we love, and there was more so a war in this one than the first one. The first one was called Criers War, but the war happened in this. So then there was like battles, robot battles, even more fun. But at the beginning half of the book, the main characters were separated and they were off doing their own little things. One's in a different country and one's trying to get to that country, and I was like, wow, it's good. I like to see them like doing their own thing, but then when they got together again, I was like, yay! Yay! But it was good. The character development was great as well, and I also loved Queen Jun, the Queen of Van. She was like amazing. Her plot twist, it was amazing. I quite enjoyed it. So if you haven't read those two books, would recommend. Even if you don't read sci-fi, I feel like that's a good place to start because it's not too difficult to understand and robots are sci-fi. So there you go. Next I read By a Thread by Lucy Score. This was just okay. It was definitely the worst book I read this month. I read it because I watched Sarah Caroli's video and it was like quite a while ago. I don't know, it was this month. And she read this book and she really liked it. So I was like, let me give it a go because it was on Amazon Prime reading and I didn't love it. It was like really thick. Like 550 pages, which was so unnecessary. It's like an office romance, kind of like Rivals to Lovers, set in like a fashion magazine, which I thought that would be really fun. It was, but not fun enough. It dragged on, and the characters were oddly childish. Not odd, because I guess that's how they were written, but it just made me feel like, because they're like 40 and 45, right? And the way they spoke, I was like, are you teenagers? Like, I didn't like it. The main girl could not accept help. The main guy was just arrogant and rude. In Sarah's video, she said that the banter was really good. I didn't enjoy it. As I said, they sounded like children when they spoke. Oh yeah, and then nicknames. I hate nicknames in general. Like, I don't like them at all. But the fact that they called each other Maleficent and Charming, ew, I don't like it. I didn't like it. So I gave that a 2.25. That is the lowest rated book this month. And the last book that I read, I actually finished it last night. It was The Hobbit. Woohoo! I wanted to read it because I downloaded this app called Fantasy Hike. I'll show you. Also, I don't have the paid version because if you want to walk more than 1.5 kilometers, then you have to pay $6, which is really disappointing. But what you do is you walk and it links up to the health app on your iPhone and it tracks your little hobbit walking around. You can't really see because the blinds. Let me go up close. I've walked to here. It's in the dark, but that's where I've stopped because it won't. You can't really see. So I'm here and then here was my little hobbit hole there, but it doesn't track a lot because I don't have the paid version. But I thought it was really fun, that app, and I was like, let me read the books that it's based on. So I read The Hobbit, although I feel like this one, the app was based off Lord of the Rings, but I wanted to read The Hobbit first because it's the prequel, so I was like, let me do that. But I quite enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. I read it on Kindle, by the way. I think it's on Kindle Unlimited as well, but I read it on Prime. I'm not too sure if it is Kindle Unlimited, but The Hobbit. It's a classic. It was, when was it written? I think like 1930s, which is crazy to me because it wasn't that hard to read. Like some bits where I was like, ugh, a bit confused, but for the most part it was pretty easy read for a classic. And a classic fantasy. I've never read one. So I was really quite excited about it. There was magical creatures, dragons, treasure. They were going on a little mission to get some treasure, which was super fun. And now I want to watch the Hobbit movies, and then I'm going to read the Lord of the Rings books and then watch the movies. Quite enjoyed it. Also, that the forest, Mirkwood, that they went into, and I was like, oh my gosh, they mentioned this in Stranger Things, like in the first season, because that's where Will went missing and they called it Mirkwood. I don't know if that was the name of the actual woods bit in Stranger Things or if the kids just called it that because it reminded them of the one in The Hobbit. I was like, wow, now I know what they're talking about. But I quite liked it. It was very magical, very fun. I did think on Goodreads I saw this was classified as a children's book. I'm not too sure though. There was a little bit of death, so I don't know, but either way, I liked it. I quite enjoyed it. So that was everything that I read this month. Those were the 9 books. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I hope you now found some good books or bad books to either read or stay away from in the future because of these reviews. I would like to know what you read in January. Put them in the comments if you would like to. What was your favourite book of the month? Least favourite book of the month. How many books did you read? Love to know. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any future videos, and I will see you next week. Goodbye. Why did I do that? I don't do that. Yeah.